So another way that fascia is very fascinating is its connection into our nervous system, right? And this is one of the areas where I think a lot of the research is turning towards more recently. So it is intrinsically linked to our nervous system. So when we are working with the fascia, we're working very closely with the nervous system. Connective tissue supports and helps provide structure, again, for the whole nervous system throughout our system, right? It wraps all those nerves and nerve fibers. There's connective tissue within all the cells, the nerve cells within our brain. And so it has a huge role in supporting our nervous system. This image, the one on the left, is a nerve cell, and it's got its little sensory tentacles known as dendrites, and they're reaching out into the, sorry, I lost my place, but they're reaching out into the surroundings of the connective tissue, so into that interstitial area, trying to figure out what is happening out there. The highest percentage of free nerve endings, which means they're either unspecialized, or another way of looking at it, they're not covered in the coding that allows most nerves to pass signals along really quickly, telling our muscles what to do or telling actions in the body. The free nerve endings, they're basically sensory ones, and you find the highest concentration of those in the interstitial fluid. So in that fluid component that's outside of the cells that comprises what's running all through the fascial system, right? And we've found that in the research, what they've found is there's many more nerve endings that are embedded in the fascia and the interstitial fluid, the tendons in the joint capsule, than in the actual muscle fibers, which kind of goes against everything that we learned before, right? Here is a really nice slide, and those yellow things are nerves that have been dyed, and so that is lumbar and gluteal fascia on a micrometer scale. And so you can sort of, I don't know if you can see it well, but that shows you kind of like all that nervous tissue running through there, innervating it, getting sensory information from it.
So your brain, your primary processing unit, is extremely interested in and needs to be informed by what's happening at all these different levels of connective tissue, and also what's happening in our fluid body, which is a lot different than what we knew before. We thought, oh, our nerves need to be primarily connected to organs like skin or internal viscera. And now we're like, oh, actually, the primary sensory input of our body is in the fluid system of our body, which is quite fascinating. We talk about fascia in the nervous system. Not only are the nerves invested in the fascia, but the connective tissue that surrounds parts of the nervous system increases the connectivity or the conductivity. So it increases the speed at which the electrical impulse can travel. So that's also really important for our nervous system, and our primary nerves are wrapped in perineurium. So your nerves need to glide and slide between these connective tissue layers. So that is really a necessity, like the health necessity for our nervous system, is how the connective tissue is functioning. As well as the connective tissue unto itself is its own communication system. The pull of the fabric is being felt and understood by tissues and cells and muscles and organs. So that kind of pull and stretch is also being understood not just by the sensory nerves, but also by like the cells and surrounding tissues. So we think of fascia as a organ of communication as well, not just an organ of movement.
Yeah. Here's just some interesting kind of facts that go along with this that I think kind of drive the point home. You know, we usually think of, when we think about muscles and we think about the nervous system, we think about proprioception, right? That idea of like, oh, I know where my body is in space, right? And it's telling me I can close my eyes and touch my nose because I know where things are. There are many, many interoceptive nerve endings found in the fascial tissue and in muscular tissue. And so interoceptive is really like this sense of what is going on in my body that's, you know, feeding information back to the central nervous system about like, how do I actually feel? Like what's going on in here? And in the intramuscular fascia, you're gonna find 7 times more of those interoceptive types of endings than proprioceptors. So that's just in the muscles, right? And then you think the rest of the system, we have all these types of nerve endings in there. They did some calculations, and there's in 2020, they determined there are 250 million sensory nerve endings in the fascial net. So that's a lot. This does not include bones or muscles. So that's compared with an estimated 200 million nerve endings in the skin. So you got another extra 50 over that, and we always think of skin as the most sensory organ, right? 126 million nerve endings for vision in the eyes, right? Eyes, again, thought of as a very sensory organ. So the thinking now is that this fascial system, the fascia running through us, is the most sensory organ in our system. So it's kind of cool in that sense. And so, you know, as we talk about this, that's why our work is so important, because our intention is working through the fascia, you know, and we're in direct contact with that nervous system, right? We're building neuromuscular awareness. We're helping people to remap pathways. And we're also creating that mind-body connection as we work on them. So pretty powerful stuff, I think. So just to sum up fascia, right? On that left side, that's our organ of movement in action, right? And here's what it's supporting, right? It's this fluid container, but it's got immense strength and weight-bearing capacity, like this lovely person doing this beautiful arm stand, flipping over, right? Supporting all that weight, can easily do that because of their fascial system. Yes, their muscles are involved, but their fascia is super involved as well too, right? Elasticity, the ability to recoil or to jump beautifully there, and the ability to sense and feel our body in space. We've got plasticity, adaptability within that. It profoundly affects our structure and our mobility. It lets our nervous tissue have a conduit, and it impacts our whole biomechanical communication network. So we have a sense of our whole, you know, possibly working with our energetics as well. So it connects every system together, and it's really the 3D framework of our body.